To do the week 5 assignments, first start from the home page loading the Excel keyboard shortcut just to have it on hand, and then go to assessment assignments down to week 5. And we're going to be calculating your company's stock price, what it theoretically should be, with 3 different methods. The dividend discount model method, the discounted cash flow per share method, DCF, and the earnings model. And so starting with the discounted dividend discount model, we're going to first go to Yahoo Finance and find your company. Just put the code in. Mine is DDM. And then we're going to go to historical data, and we're going to set the time period from the first 5 years ago. So right now it's 2023, so that's 2018, and then tab over to the month is 01, and then the day is 01. And then the end date, just keep it as is. And then change it from historical prices to dividends only, and then from daily to monthly, and then apply. Copy the URL, and then get back into Excel. In Excel, go Alt-A, FW, so data from web, and then Control-V to paste it, and then enter. This will be table 0. So if you tab down, and then once you're in the folder, arrow down to table 0 and enter. Now the first 2 columns are the ones we want, date and dividends, although we don't want the word dividend here because that obscures it from being a number. But I don't want any of these other columns. So go to the first one, shift across, control space, and then control minus. And then in this column C, type in year. And before I do the year, I'm going to have to get rid of this dividend. So I'm going to go control H. And I typed this in before, the word dividend with a space in the front of it. Notice that between the number and the word dividend, there's a space. And then I'm going to say replace all. So that's the A is underlined, Alt-A, and OK, and then escape it. And for the year, it's the formula equal year, open bracket, and then arrow over to the date, and then close bracket. Puts the year there, and because it's a table, it does it all the way down. And I'm going to rename this page. F6, menu, R for rename, and just going to call it dividends. And then control page down. I'm also going to rename this page DDM. F6, menu, R, DDM. And then I'm going to start this table where I put in the year and the dividend. Because you'll notice from our table that the dividend is released once every quarter, and I wanted to add up all the years. Now you'll see the current year, which this year is 2023, I only have 2 of them. In real life, you probably predict this. You'll notice that every year they have 4 of the same number, so it's probably going to be 4 times that. But our estimation is going to be a little bit off of that. We're going to do it based on using the compound annual growth rate, the same one that we used in week 1, to figure out what it probably will be. So year, I'm going to start 5 years ago, which is 2018. And then I'm going to make a formula equal whatever that was last year plus 1. And then I'm going to autofill it down 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. And then Control D. And then the dividend is going to be equal sum if. So add all the ones if they meet this criteria. And so first off, the range. What is the year range that I'm looking for? So go control page up. It's this new column I made. So starting in the first data cell of the column, shift and down, and then I don't have to F4 it because it's in a table, it automatically F4s it. And then comma, And then the next thing they're asking for is the criteria. So that's on the next page, control page down. I say the criteria in this case, in this row, I'm looking for the ones that are 2018. And then, comma, the sum range. What numbers am I going to be summing? And those are the dividend numbers. So control page up and control home. I go to the first dividend number, shift and down, and then close the brackets for the formula, enter. So it's 1.34. I'm going to shift and I'm going to fill out all the ones to the known years to 2022. Control D to autofill. And then the 2023, that is going to be using a formula that we'll get to in a minute. Because the next table that we need to make, we've made this table. This is the formula we'll be using in a moment, but it uses a variable called the dividend growth, the growth of the dividends. And we've still got to figure out what those are. So I'm going to make this new table variable and number. And the first number is the dividend growth, GD. And the formula for that is the annual growth rate. So it's the most recent dividend divided by the earliest one 5 years earlier, all to the exponent of 1 over however many there are. There's 5 of them, minus 1, so 1 over 4, and minus 1. So equal, in brackets, most recent one divided by the earliest one, close bracket. Use caret for which is on the 6th key if you hold down shift, and then brackets 1 divided by 4, close brackets, subtract 1 from the whole thing. And I'd like that to be a percentage, so I'm going to go shift control %, and I actually like to be 2 decimal places. So control 1, tab, and 2 decimal places. Good, so we got that, and in fact we can now do this formula. So the formula is whatever the most recent known dividend is, 2022 in this case, multiplied by 1 plus that dividend growth. So equal the most recent one multiplied by 1 plus this dividend growth. And I'm going to make that, if I go shift control 1, that is a popular one. It's in thousands, brackets between the thousands and 2 decimal places. And because I'm not even close to 1,000 here, I don't even see any commas, but I see kind of what I want, 2 decimal places. So then the next thing I need in my table is the risk-free rate, because eventually I need to satisfy this formula to calculate the value of the common stock. It's the D1 that I just figured out, and then divided by the difference between K, the required return, which has a formula of its own, minus that growth, dividend growth that we figured out. So the next thing we're going to need to figure out the required return is the risk-free rate. If we didn't make any investment, we just want to be guaranteed a return, we could buy a 10-year bond. And 10 years is kind of an arbitrary thing that is used usually in this case. And so I'm going to be using, because I'm in Canada, the Canada 10-year bond. So that's from Market Watch. And that is I have to search for it, this Canadian 10-year government bond. And I think it's this one right here, the very first one. Yep, Canada 10-year bond. It's 3.593%. So you should get that percentage. They're not going to let me. Okay. And so I'm going to call it RF, the rate that's free or risk-free. And I'm going to go F2 so I can paste it in the cell and then type my own percent. Good. Then the next one that I want is the beta. And that's on Market Watch for my company. So if I go to that search for my company in Market Watch, DDM in my case, right on the first page, the overview page, it has the beta. My beta is 0 0.81. So I'm just going to put B for beta, and because I'm going to be careful not to have the formatting from that place. If there was any, I'm going to go F2. So now I'm going into the cell and Control V and then enter. Okay, the next thing I want is the market rate. And so this is a 10-year average of the S&P S&P 500. And that's the RM, rate for the market. And so I'm going to, it's a special page on Macro Trends, a website that we use as well, but it's difficult to find, so I just link directly to it. And this is a table with it on it, all the annual growth rate. We're going to take the average for the last 10 years. So copy or Control L to get up to the URL, and then Control C, and then back to our page, Alt A, FW, Control V, tab, 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 tab. I think it's also table 0. I'm going to space it just to see. Yep, that's it. Okay, enter. Okay, and then I'm going to name this page F6, menu, rename, and S&P Standard & Poor 500. And it's the last column that I need. That's the growth rate column. And so, and I want the last one. So I'm going to sort this. Right now it's sorted the most recent on, actually the most recent is what I want. Okay, so go back to DDM page. So this is equal the average of, and then control page up, and then I'm going to go to the first one, hold down shift and get 9 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And close bracket. And I'm going to make that a percent. Control shift 5, and I'm going to make it to choose decimal places. Control 1, tab, tab, 2, enter. 10.24%. Now I want to get the required return, which is the risk-free rate plus beta multiplied by the difference between the market rate and the risk-free rate. So the risk-free rate plus beta multiplied by the difference from the market rate subtracting the risk-free rate. And I'm going to make that to 2 decimal places. Control Shift 1, tab, oops, didn't do it. Oh, I just meant to, I'm going to go Control Z. Control 1 is what I wanted. Tab, tab, 2. And then I think I can now do the formula. The D1 over the difference between the required return and the dividend growth rate. So D1 is the 2023 one, divided by, I'm going to put in brackets, the required return minus the dividend growth rate. And I'm going to go Control Shift 1 to make that to 2 decimal places. So $37.66. And what it really is, by the way, is if we go to the, it's really $85. So that might be a reason to think that it would be good to buy, or actually it's not worth, it's only worth 37, but it's selling at 85. So you might want to sell. But this doesn't always mean that. It's not cut and dry, because there's some things that you cannot put in the price that's influencing the price, the worth of the brand. But it's something to compare numerically and then make a decision with. So that's the DDM method. And next we'll go on to the next method.